Hi there and welcome to Yarnspirations.com. In this video we're going to take a quick look at the Knit Hot Water Bottle cover. It's luscious because it is made in Patons Alpaca Blend, so oh my goodness, when you get this soft luscious yarn with a nice hot water bottle inside, you'll be toasty and warm for the entire winter. You're going to need Patons Alpaca Blend. One ball will do it. Peony is what we used in the photo, and I used a different color in the video because that's the color I had laying around and it goes better with my bedroom. You'll need a knitting needle, size US 10 or 6 millimeter, or size needed to obtain gauge. You're going to need 4 buttons to fit in your buttonholes, and you're going to need a locking stitch marker for each side. So probably 2, but 1 will do it if you only make 1 piece at a time. So let's get started on that bottom section with the ribbing and talk about how to neatly make those buttonholes. Now, the first thing I want to address is the buttonholes. As you can see in the picture, we have buttons and buttonholes on the bottom, so you can slide your hot water bottle in there and button it all up so it doesn't come out. So, following along the instructions, I'm going to cast on 30 stitches and work in knit 2, purl 2 ribbing. So on the first row you begin with a knit 2, second row you're going to begin on a purl 2, and then you're going to do rows 1 and 2 again, first row and second row again, and then the next row is the buttonhole. You're going to rib 2 stitches, cast off 2 stitches, rib 6 stitches including the stitch on the needle after the cast off, and that's the part that I want to talk about. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to rib 2 stitches, and we are knitting the stitches as they appear, so that's going to be a knit 2. Also, I know I'm on a right side row. That's the other reason I know it's going to be a knit 2. Then I'm going to cast off 2 stitches, and I'm going to cast them off as they appear. So once again, I'm going to purl 1 and then purl another one and pull the first one over the second one. That's 1 cast off, and then I'm going to knit the next stitch because that's how it appears, and pull the purled stitch off over the knit stitch. Now I have bound off 2 stitches, I have cast off 2 stitches, and it's going to rib 6 including the stitch on the needle after the cast off. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now we're going to do that again. Cast off 2 stitches, and I'm going to start by doing them purl stitches because that's how the stitches appear. 1, 2 stitches that I have purled, slip it 1 stitch over the next. So that's 1 stitch that has been cast off. I'm going to knit the next one because that's how it appears, and pull the purl stitch over the knit stitch. That means I have cast off 2, rib 6 including the stitch on the needle after the cast off. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, cast off 2, there's 1, there's 2, rib 6, that one already counts, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we've done that 3 times, and then the final instruction is cast off 2, rib 2. So we're going to cast off 2. There's 1, There's 2. Rib 2, that one counts. There's my 2 at the end. So I have, spread this all out. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 buttonholes. Now, on the 4th row, it tells me work in knit 2, purl 2 ribbing, casting on 2 stitches over the cast off stitches. So what's going to happen is, once again, I'm going to knit the stitches as they appear, and I know that this is a wrong side row, so it begins with a purl 2. Now I have to cast on 2 stitches here. I can't do a long tail or a proper thumb method the way that we would normally do, because I've only got 1 strand of yarn here, not 2. So I'm going to, in this case, use a cursive E cast on, which I do not use very often because it can be sloppy over a large number of stitches. But since I'm only casting on 2 at a time, this is a perfect use for this cast on. So here is my strand of yarn. My thumb is under, and I've twisted it, and I've inserted the needle through the loop. See the little twist right there? I'm going to pull that good and tight. Once again, put my thumb under the yarn, go under the loop on my thumb from front to back, take my thumb out, pull that nice and tight. So there's 2. Now I have to do 2 more stitches. I'm going to purl them, because that's how they appear. I'm going to do this all the way across. So when I come to that gap, I know that I have to cast on 2 stitches. All right, here's a big gap, so let's do that again. Put my thumb under the loop, go under the loop from front to back, pull my thumb out, and tug it nice and tight. And again, the reason I'm doing that so tightly is because this tends to be a loose cast on all by itself. So I'm making it super tight so that I get exactly the tension I want, or the gauge that I want, when I'm knitting back the next row. Here's my gap. 1, 2. Okay, and here's my very last gap right before the end. One, 2. All right, so that is my 4th row, and you can see the little buttonholes. And then I have cast on over them. So now moving forward, I'm going to continue in knit 2, purl 2 ribbing as established until the work from the beginning measures 3 inches or 7.5 centimeters, ending on a wrong side row, and I'm going to place the marker at the end of that row. So I'm going to knit back over that cursive E cast on just to show you what it looks like. My right side row, I'm going to begin with knit 2, and now here's my cursive E cast on. I'm going to purl 2 because that's what the stitch pattern calls for. Now again, I'm fiddling this a little bit because I made it nice and tight. But if I did not make it tight, once again, the buttonhole would be too sloppy, and you do not want your buttonholes to stretch out. So there it is. That is our nice neat buttonhole. We're going to do that all the way across, and then once again work until the work measures 3 inches or 7.5 centimeters from the very beginning. At that point we're going to place the marker and we're going to change to stocking stitch. We're going to work in stocking stitch until the work measures 8 inches or 20.5 centimeters, but in that case we're measuring from the marked row, not from the very beginning. So I'm going to go ahead and work just a couple more rows of knit 2 purl 2 ribbing. Remember, I'm not making the whole piece here on camera because then it would be a very long video, but I'm going to put a couple more rows and then I'm going to change to stocking stitch, and then we are going to take a look at the adjustments we have to make to get that nice little narrowing at the top opening. So we've kept going on in stocking stitch until the work measures the amount noted in the pattern. Remember, we put a locking stitch marker on the last row of ribbing, which was a wrong side row, and we have ended our stocking stitch on a wrong side or a purl row. Remember, yours will be much bigger than mine. I'm just doing a little swatch here from the camera. So now we're on page 2 where it says shape top. On a right side row, knit 2, SSK, which is slip slip knit, knit 2 last 4 stitches, K2 tog, or knit 2 together, knit 2. Now the reason we're doing 2 different decreases is one is a left leaning decrease and one is a right leaning decrease, and that just makes it all look prettier. All right, so we're going to knit 2, 1, 2, and then we're going to SSK, which is slip slip knit, and it is defined in the abbreviations section at the beginning, and it says slip next 2 stitches knitwise 1 at a time, pass them back onto left hand needle, then knit through the back loops together. So slip 1 knitwise, slip the second one knitwise, get them both back on the left hand needle, and knit 2 together through the back loop. All right, now we're going to knit to the last 4 stitches. So the SSK is a left leaning decrease. So since the top of the hot water bottle is leaning to the left up there, that's why we use the left leaning decrease. And the K2 tog, which we're going to do in a minute, that is a right leaning decrease. Okay, so we're knitting across until 4 are left. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have 4 more to go. All right, there's my 4 remaining stitches, and then it's K2 tog or knit 2 together, knit 2. So the knit 2 together, the right leaning decrease, you literally just knit the 2 stitches together as if they're one, knit 2. For the second row, I'm going to purl back, and then the third row is going to be exactly the same as the first row, which was the knit 2, SSK, knit to last 4 stitches, K2 tog, knit 2. The fourth row is a little bit different in that we have some decreasing on the purl side. So let's take a look at that. So we're going to purl 2, and then purl 2 together. So once again, just through both loops at the same time, which is a decrease, and then we're going to purl to last 4 stitches, All right, I have 4 stitches together. I'm going to purl 2 through back loop, which means instead of going through the front loop, the side that's facing me like I would for a normal purl 2 together, I want to go through the back loops. In order to do that, I'm going to have to twist my needle around a little bit. So I'm going from the outside edge towards the inside edge. You don't have to make it quite as crazy as I just did, but I want to make sure that you can really see what's going on here. So I'm going through the back loops. I'm going to yarn over and pull that yarn over through like I would for a normal stitch. There's my purl 2 together through the back loop, and then I'm going to purl 2. So there's my purl 2 together through the back loop. You can see them going in the direction that they're supposed to on the right side of the work. So on the right side, that purl 2 together winds up being a right leaning decrease, and that purl 2 together through back loop winds up being a left leaning decrease. Now you're going to repeat those last 2 rows once more. So once again, the 3rd row is the same as the 1st row was, and the 4th row again, and then the 1st row once. So back to that 1st row, and you will have 18 stitches. At that point, you're going back to the purl 2 knit 2 ribbing, and you're going to begin with the purl 2, a wrong side row, and there's your right side row. So you're going back to the ribbing, and you're going to repeat the last 2 rows for 5 inches, ending on a wrong side row, and you're going to cast off in ribbing. Now, that is the front of the hot water bottle cover. For the back, you're going to do the exact same thing, except you are not going to work the buttonholes, because obviously you only need buttonholes on one side. So at that point, you will have your 2 pieces. You will sew up the side seams. Now, when they say reverse the 3 inches or 7.5 centimeters from the cast off edge for the turn back, what they're telling you to do is do that side seam. Generally use mattress stitch, so you're facing the right side. The right side of the work is facing you when you're stitching up, stitching up, stitching up, stitching up. When you have 3 inches left, you're going to end off that seam and then make the seam with the wrong side facing you for that last 3 inches, so that when you fold it back, you don't have ugly seam, you have right side looking a seam all the way up. So seam, 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 seam. When you get to the last inches, flip yourself the other way and face the other side of the work when you do that last 3 inches. And then when you fold it back, it will be lovely. I hope you enjoy making the knit hot water bottle cover. It will certainly come in handy with the cold winter nights. Thanks so much for joining us here on Yarnspirations.com. We look forward to seeing you again real soon.